I'm here at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, with Professor Jeffrey Brown, the William G. Karnes Professor of Finance. We've just had a conversation about long-term care financing. And Jeff, your research showed that anywhere from 2/3 to 90% of the entire market for private long-term care insurance is crowded out by the availability of Medicaid. I wonder if you would elaborate on those findings for us.
Sure, I'd be happy to. As you know, Medicaid is essentially providing, even though it's costly to the government, it is, from a consumer's perspective, if you can qualify for Medicaid, it's essentially providing free coverage for nursing home and other types of long-term care coverage. And so the way we go about analyzing this is to look at, is it in the interest of an individual to purchase private insurance, knowing that that private insurance is going to have to essentially pay for care that in the absence of insurance would have been provided for free by Medicaid. And what we find by doing some fairly sophisticated simulations of individuals where we take into account realistic Medicaid rules, we take into account realistic probabilities of entering and exiting care and so forth, is we find that for most of the wealth distribution, the bottom, as you say, 2/3 or maybe as much as 90% of the wealth distribution, they are actually better off by not buying the private insurance and instead relying on Medicaid. Now when I say that, I mean they're better off individually. It certainly doesn't mean that this is socially the best policy, because we all know that those Medicaid expenditures are ultimately being borne by the taxpayer.
They're better off financially. They may not be better off in terms of the access to and quality of care that they'll receive by Medicaid, correct?
That's absolutely true. Having said that, what we find is in our study that even when there are some fairly significant differences in quality, the financial incentive of that Medicaid imposes on the purchase of a private long-term care insurance policy is still very significant, and in many cases is still enough to make it look unattractive. One of the policy implications of this is that if we really want to get serious about making sure that individual consumers are taking appropriate steps to insure themselves against these potentially financially catastrophic expenditures, and to make sure that we are sort of efficiently and appropriately paying for this stuff, that we really need to fundamentally rethink the way that Medicaid is providing this coverage. That as long as the Medicaid system continues to operate as it is now, it's going to be very difficult to essentially get people to really think seriously about insuring against this risk.
Well, Professor Jeff Brown of the University of Illinois, we're lucky to have people of your caliber rethinking these issues, and I thank you for the time and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, and thanks for all your hard work.